Okay, so now let us understand what are supplementary angles. Well, supplementary angles are simply the pair of those angles whose measures, right, whose sum equals to 180 degree. That's all. If the sum of measures of two angles equals 180 degree, then they are known as supplementary angles. And let us understand it using an example. So we have a figure 1 here where we have two angles. Let us say that this is angle X, I'll call it as X, and this is angle Y. Now if I take the sum of these two angles, that is angle X plus angle Y, right, that is 60 plus 120 degrees. So that comes out to be 180, right? Therefore angle X and angle Y are said to be supplementary to each other. Okay, and let's take at the another example, right? So here we have angle X equals 68 degrees and angle Y equals 112 degrees. Now if I add both of these, angle X plus angle Y, we get 168 plus 112. Now this again, if we look at it, right, that equals to 180. So we have 8 plus 2 is 10, carried over 1 here, 6 and 1, 7 and 1, 8, so 180 degrees. Therefore both the angles, right, that is both the pairs of angles, that is in pair in 1 and pair in 2, they are said to be supplementary. So mathematically we can say that whenever angle X plus angle Y equals 180 degree, right, the angles can be known as supplementary angles. So angle X is known to be a supplement of angle Y, and similarly angle Y is known to be a supplement of angle X. That is how we would recognize them. So let us now try to look at how supplementary angles are related to the obtuse, acute and the right angles. Now the first thing is, can two obtuse angles be supplementary? Right, so we should keep in mind our golden criteria, that is angle X plus angle Y must be equal to 180 degree. Now in the first case, when we have both angle X and Y are obtuse, we have angle X and angle Y as obtuse angles, which means that both of them, angle X is greater than 90 degree and angle Y is also greater than 90 degree, right? Now let us just take the smallest angle, smallest supplementary angle. So I'm assuming that we have a protector in which we can move only 1 degree. That is the minimum movement that, or the measure that we can have. So considering that assumption, the smallest angle, obtuse angle that I can measure is 91 degrees, right? So I'll just take the two smallest obtuse angles and see if they are supplementary or not. So we have, let's say, angle X and angle Y, let them be equal to 91 degrees. See, according to our assumption that we can just measure 1 degree of difference, so from 90 I can go to 91, I cannot go to 90.1 or 90.2. That's the simplifying assumption that we have made here. So angle X and angle Y is 91, and now I would add angle X plus angle Y, that is 91 degrees plus 91 degrees, and it becomes 182 degrees, right? So what happens is, this sum here, angle X plus angle Y, is greater than 180 degree. Now if you think over this, what we have done is we have taken the smallest obtuse angles, right? Obtuse angles are like greater than 90 degree. Now if the smallest obtuse angles, if they cannot be supplementary, which means that any angle greater than that will by default, if we add any two angles which are bigger than that, then by default they are always their sum is always going to be bigger than 180. Therefore two obtuse angles can never be supplementary angles. This case cannot happen at all. Now let us look at the second one, which says that can two acute angles be supplementary? Now what in this case we are dealing with smaller angles, right? So when angle x and y are acute, right? So we know that angle x and angle y are less than 90 degrees, right? Now again, taking our assumption that the only measures or the only steps in which we can measure the angles is 1 degree each. So considering that, what is the biggest acute angle that we have? It will be 89 degrees. After that we have 90 degrees, which is a right angle. So let's say that both the angles, angle x and angle y, are the biggest acute angles that I can have, which is 89 degrees, right? So we'll add both of them. We say angle x plus angle y equals 89 degrees plus 89 degrees, and when we add this, it will come out to be 178 degrees, which here it comes that angle x plus angle y is actually less than 180 degrees, right? So this means that two acute angles can never be supplementary, right? Two acute angles will never be supplementary. Now let's look at the third one. Can two right angles be supplementary? Now when we say right angles, it simply means that both angle x and angle y, they are equal to 90 degrees. In this case, if we add these two angles, that is angle x plus angle y equals 90 degrees plus 90 degrees, that gives us 180 degrees, right? Which actually satisfies our criteria of angle x plus angle y equals 180 degree, right? So in fact, this says that if we have two right angles, then they are always supplementary of each other. So the answer to this would be, can two right angles be supplementary? They are always supplementary. So the whole idea here is to figure out that if you have two obtuse angles, they will never be supplementary. Two acute angles can also never be supplementary, but two right angles will always be supplementary. So which kind of raises a thing, what should be the nature of angles so that they are supplementary? You need one obtuse angle and one acute angle to be supplementary. That is, an acute plus an obtuse angle is required to make it supplementary angle. This is what we can conclude from here. Not only that, two right angles will always be supplementary. So that is the kind of conclusion that we can observe, or that's the kind of thing that we can observe about supplementary angles. In the next video, we will take up some examples which involves the supplementary angles.